I'd like to welcome you here to view this series on recipient rights.
The video series you're about to see is a celebration of empowerment and success for people with disabilities.
The people we spoke to in this video series are mainly consumers, those individuals who receive services from the Michigan mental health system.
There was a time when the expectation was that we would explain to you what you needed, and your job was to do what we told you to do. That has changed to a system that empowers consumers to say, this is my dream, and this system is here to help make those dreams come true.
By being knowledgeable about one's rights and being able to exercise those rights, one becomes empowered because they now have control to dictate the outcome of their future.
Take a minute just to thank every one of you for attending today, for traveling from all parts of the state. We even have folks here from the Upper Peninsula. That's awesome. That's dedication.
We're here at the state capitol. We've brought a group with us from Tuscola County to participate in the walk at the Capitol building. We're carrying a flag for our county. It's a time for us to come together and show our spirit.
You are somebody!
It truly is like a civil rights movement. People with disabilities, historically, were denied rights, to the point where we had to put it in a mental health code. And really, we're repeating some of the rights that we all have.
When you receive mental health services in Michigan, Michigan's Mental Health Code and other laws protect your rights. But what are rights, and what do they mean in your health care?
Rights define what is fair and how we as people should treat each other. Rights are an agreement that you will be treated with respect. Your rights mean an opportunity to choose how your serious health concerns are cared for, and a promise that consumer health care is focused on you.
It's not a gift. It's something that they are entitled to, something to be entitled to.
Like I say, there's probably thousands of consumers that 100% don't believe they have any rights.
You are entitled to your rights, whether or not you are aware of them. Your rights should be protected by everyone you work with in the mental health system.
But how can you tell when your rights are being violated?
If I feel that something's not right in my life, if someone's trying to hurt me in any way.
If someone hurt you, like your body something, if someone touch you in one place you cannot touch,
then I will go to the rights supervisor and we'll talk about it, because I should not be forced into doing something that I don't feel comfortable with.
You can learn more about your rights by using the Your Rights booklet or talking to your rights officer.
If an individual is feeling that something is not right, they need to get in contact with their recipient rights officer, which each county has.
I'm from a small community, so they know how to reach me. I'm available for them at any time.
There are rights that all Americans have, guaranteed by law. As citizens of the United States and the state of Michigan, these rights belong to those who receive mental health services.
A consumer of public mental health services has all the rights and benefits that are promised any citizen under the Constitution and federal and state laws.
The right not to be discriminated against for race, color, weight, height, age, physical or mental disability.
the right to vote, the right to protest.
So many people don't realize, even with a guardian, they have a right to vote.
They can read whatever they want. They can listen to any kind of music that they want.
There's no guideline that says because you have a disability you can't have this or you can't have that.
Even if you are hospitalized, you still have a right to vote. Your civil rights belong to you, regardless of any mental health services you might receive.
In addition to your civil rights, you actually get an additional set of rights as a consumer of mental health. These rights are designed to make sure you are treated fairly when receiving services within the mental health system.
One of the rights that I always abhorred to think that they had to put it in a statute is that the consumers have the right to be treated with dignity and respect.
Something we always, just take for granted, but people with disabilities historically were denied those rights.
The greatest shift has been to refocus away from the institution, talking about people being able to set their own objectives and goals for their lives.
Today's mental health system exists to serve the citizens of Michigan as individual consumers of mental health.
When you go to a doctor, you have to sign papers to consent to treatment. So when you receive treatment, when you go to a mental health agency to get treatment for your mental health, you're going to have to sign consent.
You are ultimately in control of the mental health services you receive, whether directly or through your guardian. Without informed consent, no one can give you treatment or tell others confidential information about you and your treatment.
No one can pressure you into making a decision, and you should never have to make a decision if you don't understand all the facts. If you feel that your right to make an informed decision is being violated, contact your rights office.
Even if a court has ordered you to receive mental health services, you still have the right to have a driver's license, marry and divorce, make a will, buy and sell property, manage your own affairs, and decide most things about your life.
I want that, live on my own independently, in an apartment, maybe get married.
Oh boy.
Okay.
If somebody is saying that you're not competent, they're treating you as if you're not competent, they're not letting you make your own decisions when the court has not done that, that is against your rights, that is abuse.
You will continue to be treated as competent unless a court decides that you are legally incompetent and appoints a guardian for you.
Basically, the role of a guardian would be to facilitate helping the consumer.
Diane Brown is my guardian. Yeah, she's really nice.
A guardian is appointed to serve you. A judge may authorize a guardian to make major decisions for you or only to help you decide certain things.
If you are ever uncomfortable with your guardian or think you should be able to make more decisions on your own, you can ask the court to make a change.
I'm Ann from Tuscola County. We must think of ourselves as people and insist that those treating us also regard us as people.
Walk a mile in my shoes. Our mental illness is just a small sliver of who we are. It does not define us. Walk a mile in my shoes.
As a consumer of mental health, you and your family members should always be treated with dignity and respect.
What does it mean not to be treated with dignity?
Not respecting you and not liking you for who you are.
We're all valuable people. Everybody's entitled to be treated like a valuable human being.
It's one of those things we take for granted. But it's something that everyone deserves.
If we're not valuing our customer, we're not treating them with dignity or respect.
As a valued individual, no one should ever abuse or neglect you. No one has the right to abuse you physically, sexually, or in any other way.
Abuse, calling you names and stuff, maybe hitting you.
And I was thinking it was my fault, and I said, wait a minute, it's not my fault. I have to start learning how to speak up for myself because I have the rights. the teachers, and I tell them, that person don't do that.
You also have a right not to be neglected. If those who care for you are failing to give you proper care or attention, you should contact your rights officer immediately. Your rights officer will help you decide if you are being neglected.
A person may not know that they're being neglected, as the code would talk about neglect. But generally then we would have other staff, or we would have guardians and parents that would report that.
Sometimes I always tell my caseworker or Cindy.
If they feel they've been abused or neglected, they need to call the rights office so the rights office can start to investigate.
If you have been abused or neglected, or suspect that another recipient has been abused or neglected, you should report it right away to a staff person and the Office of Recipient Rights.
If they can't make the phone call themselves, they need to ask a staff person to do it for them, because the staff person is required to do that.
My name is Willard Cook. And I'm employed at the Tuscola Place for Peace, and I'm a consumer.
Tuscola Place for Peace is a drop-in center for individuals who have a mental illness or disability. It's a place where they can talk to individuals who know exactly what they're going through.
We advocate for people with mental illnesses, or basically anybody, you know. It doesn't take much to recognize another human being, so. No, I'll show you how to play. People from the center support one another, you know, conversation and favors.
It gives them peer support. Their comfort level is there because they know that the individual they're talking to has possibly gone through the exact same thing.
And then we find out, oh, I'm not alone. You know, someone else has been going through this, and that has been extremely helpful.
Mental health services can take many different forms to serve many different kinds of needs. Whatever form your treatment takes, you have a right to receive treatment in a place that is clean and safe.
I have a right to work in a clean, safe environment. So does our consumers have a right to work or sleep or live or wherever. They have a right to be in a clean, safe environment.
If you are receiving services from a residential program, the place where you live must have good lighting, enough heat, fresh air, hot and cold water, a bathroom with privacy, personal storage space, and it should be free from unpleasant smells.
We make the choices to have a clean house. We make the choices to, you know, keep things safe for us, for our children.
So if that's not occurring, if they live in a residential setting and it's not clean,
you don't have to live in a place with no hot water. You don't have to live in a place where the beds are broken down or you're eating bologna sandwiches.
Carpets are ripped up and they're tripping. Sidewalks are not kept clean in the wintertime. Ice doesn't have salt on it to melt so that you're not slipping and falling. That is against your rights.
You have the right to move freely through your environment. Your freedom of movement can only be limited to protect yourself or others within the constraints of the law. You may only be secluded in a locked room if it is absolutely necessary to protect yourself or others, or prevent substantial property damage, and you're in an appropriately licensed psychiatric hospital or child caring institution.
Whether you participate in a residential program or work with mental health professionals in another setting, you have a right to expect privacy. You have the right not to be fingerprinted, photographed, audio taped, videotaped, or viewed through a one-way glass unless you or your legal representative agree in writing to allow this.
No one can do that without your consent, without your permission. If you don't want it done and you say no, it cannot happen.
To best serve you, mental health workers may record information about you and your treatment in a file.
Anything that is being written about you, a psychological or a nursing report or your PCP, any piece of paper that somebody wrote on that was about that person would go in their file.
You have the right to have your file and all information about your mental health treatment kept private. This information can only be given to others as required or allowed by law.
It's really easy. Everything that we know about you in the mental health system is confidential.
They have to keep it private. Like this one other friend I had, I asked his homeowner of what his condition was, and she would not discuss it with me, his medical condition.
The only way we can release information about an individual is when we are required by law, or when somebody has signed the proper releases saying it's okay.
The information in your record ultimately belongs to you. You have a right to access it. You or your legal representative may ask to read it, or for a copy of part or all of your record.
It may take a couple of days for somebody to be able to sit down with you, and that's okay. But it is their record, and they have a right to see their records.
If you disagree with anything in your file, you or your legal representative may place a statement in your file correcting that information.
We can't remove what you don't like, but we can put a statement in there saying what it is that's wrong, that you think is wrong.
When receiving mental health services, you have the right to control your treatment.
You should have the opportunity to direct your treatment and what's going to happen for you to make sure that it meets your needs, not someone else's needs.
The treatments have improved over the years, I think, as they've invested in the buildings and made the services more convenient to use.
You have the right to know why you're being treated, what the treatment is, and how much you'll be charged. You have a right to develop a plan of service for your treatment, and you have the right to choose who will help you with your plan of service.
You have the right to see the physician of your choice, as long as you're not under court petition.
If I'm the consumer, we'll say, well, tell me more about this medication. If you're going to put me on this medication, I want to know what the side effects are, what's it supposed to do, what are the alternatives. I may say, I understand the course of treatment that you're recommending for me, but I'm going to seek a second opinion.
You are always entitled to a second opinion about services. You are entitled to ask questions about your treatment and discuss your thoughts with mental health professionals. If you are a minor, you are entitled to ask for treatment without the consent of a guardian.
All treatment you receive must be focused on your needs as an individual. Michigan law requires that all treatment take a person-centered approach.
Person-centered plan is a set of goals of things that you want to accomplish in your life, whether it's needing some place to live or working with a psychiatrist or a therapist or medication and getting to know what it's all about.
Very important not to be satisfied with just therapy and medication. Also, you might want to think about your future.
Person-centered planning is a process, a tool that puts the consumer and a team in charge of the development of a treatment plan.
You are the one that's in charge of your plan. You are in charge of your life. We're here to help you achieve that goal.
The person-centered plan consists of 4 basic parts: identifying your goals for the future, planning that future, choosing supports and services, and getting regular feedback to determine how the supports and services are working.
So we start at the beginning, and where do you want to go from here?
So what we'll do is go over, okay, who would you like to come to your meeting, and try to put together all those individuals that are important to the consumer.
You can invite those people.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and they can help you do this.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'll ask them if they want their nurse to be there, because if they have seizures and they have problems with their medication, it's a good idea to get the input of the nurse. Then we'll ask the question, what kind of things do you do that you like to do?
If you would like, you may have your planning sessions facilitated independently by someone outside of the mental health care system who you choose.
The consumers are the main person in this meeting. It all revolves around that individual. They have the say in what they do, what they choose to work on towards the next year, 6 months, long term.
Then we'll also look at some of the abilities or some of the things that they need in terms of training.
Person-centered planning process takes place with at least a meeting every year, if not more frequently as needed.
Medication is sometimes a part of the treatment process, and getting the right medication for you can make a major change in your life.
I refused to believe that it was biochemical imbalance for a long time. And finally I got treatment by risperidol, and it worked for paranoia. And then I knew the difference between myself as paranoid all the time and feeling well.
You have the right to understand how medication may affect you, and if there are alternatives.
Anytime you're looking at a medication, you have to look at what is the best way to solve the problem, what are some of the side effects that are going to occur here, is there a better way that we can accomplish the same thing?
When we go to the doctor, if I don't understand something, then I can ask her like what kind of pills I'm taking, and she'll tell me about it.
The dosage is very important as well. Does this person need more medication, or is this something where if in fact you change some things around the environment, if that would help out a little bit better?
I was hospitalized. The law enforcement officers took me in and basically rescued me out of my doing the thing that I wasn't supposed to be doing, and put me in a place where I could get some help.
Usually there's a hospitalization that circumstances the treatment.
If you decide to voluntarily admit yourself to a psychiatric hospital, you are still in control, and you still have rights. Your rights should always be explained to you upon admission.
Consumers have a lot of options, but a lot of them don't really realize that they do have all these options. You know, all consumers, mental health consumers, have rights.
If your admission to a psychiatric hospital is not your choice, you should still be treated fairly. You have the right to at least 2 phone calls, to receive a copy of the petition for treatment, and a written statement saying you will be examined by a psychiatrist within 24 hours after admission.
If in fact there's certain things that you need or that you want, you also tell the psychiatrist so that the psychiatrist has a good idea as to what you want and what you need. Because the more information you can provide the psychiatrist with, the better that psychiatrist is going to be able to recommend the appropriate medication and assist you with the problem that you're working on.
I see the psychiatrist, and I have a case manager now. They have a very good group now working.
It isn't one person that determines. They can determine by conversation with you over a long enough period of time. Then they can decide whether you need services of TBHS, or you need services for substance abuse, or you don't need no services at all.
You have the right not to be involuntarily committed without being examined by at least 2 separate doctors, or by a psychologist and a psychiatrist. You have the right to refuse medication before a court hearing, unless a physician determines that it is needed for safety. If you choose, you have the right to have an independent medical exam before your court hearing.
You are entitled to meet with a team of individuals to assist with your care. This team may include legal counsel, treatment team members, a community mental health worker, and an individual of your choice. This team can help you plan and request that your hearing be deferred or delayed.
Like all Americans, you are entitled to a speedy trial. Your hearing should be within 7 days of involuntary admission. If a court decides that you should continue to receive involuntary treatment, this decision must be reviewed every 6 months.
If you are living in a residential treatment setting, you have many rights related to your possessions, your entertainment, and privacy.
They want hard rock or whatever they want. The homeowner can't say, you can't listen to that, or you can't read that magazine, or you can't do that.
I was forced to at one time, and I don't like being pushed in the corner like that. I want to choose what I want to listen to, not what they think because they don't agree with my decision.
They have free access to their phones. They have access to cable TV if they want. They have access to going in the community as far as money, things of that nature. That's all stuff that they are able to, have access to, because that is their right. That is their property.
I imagine people opening up your letters, reading your mail, I guess that's a violation. That's not right. People going through my things, going in my room without my permission and going through my stuff. yeah, that would burn me up.
Although you have many rights related to your life in residential treatment, you do have to respect the house rules that are not in conflict with your rights.
If they have house rules and you break them, and they might ask you to find another foster care home, or
if I want a friend over at my new home, I'd have to tell the homeowner about it to make sure that they know.
The Blue Book, Your Rights, lists the many rights that you have as a resident in treatment. Consumers of mental health services also have specific forensic rights when interacting with the judicial system. If an individual is charged with a crime, one can be found incompetent to stand trial or not guilty by reason of insanity.
Your forensic rights are part of the judicial system. These are rights that are only relevant if you are charged with a crime. If you do need legal advice, you should consult an attorney.
If you believe your rights have been violated, you should file a recipient rights complaint or have someone file a complaint on your behalf.
The piece of paper in the back, you read it and you describe what happens, the situation, and you write down what the person did to you or what you think they violated your rights, and then you fill that out.
Would I write a complaint form up because I'm mad at my best friend?
No.
If that person was mean and yelling at you and saying bad names to you and things like that, would I write up a complaint form?
Yeah.
No one is allowed to retaliate or take action against you for filing a complaint. If you do have problems while filing a rights complaint, you should contact your rights officer or rights advisor to tell them what's happening.
You talk to them if you got a problem, and they will help you.
That's my job, is to make sure that they get as much assistance as they need. I'm supposed to make sure that they know what their rights are, that they have access to their records if they need them for those processes.
If you file a rights complaint, you should receive a letter from the rights office within 5 days. If the rights office decides to investigate, the rights officer will submit a report to the agency director. This summary will tell if the rights office believes your rights have been violated and what will happen next. If you disagree with the summary report, you may appeal its decision. After the investigation is finished, you have the right to request mediation of your dispute. This mediation will be a meeting between you, a representative of the agency, and a person trained to help resolve complaints.
All right, folks, what'd you think of the first annual Walk a Mile, My Shoes rally?
Say it one more time. You are somebody.
That we take our personal center plans seriously, that we be regarded as persons, that we insist that we base our legal rights on being a person.
A person who receives mental health services has the same rights that they had before coming into the system. But when they come into the system, they get additional rights.
These additional rights, as well as your rights as a citizen of the state of Michigan, are detailed in the Your Rights booklet.
When beginning services, you should be provided with a copy of this guide. You should talk about your rights with people you trust.
If you ever have any questions or feel that your rights have been violated, you should meet with a rights officer at your community mental health office.
I believe in people. I think people are valuable.
I think the more you value the individual, you respect them, you give them the dignity that they're entitled to have.
I see a staff that cares about consumers, that believes in empowerment, where they look at people for their abilities, not their disabilities.
And that's what this is all about. It's a working relationship to help deal with and overcome some of the issues that mental illness, developmental disability, mental health in itself has.
As an individual consumer of mental health services in Michigan, you have power and responsibility to direct your treatment. By learning more about your rights and the options available to you as a consumer, you will gain greater control over your service outcomes.
the same rights that everybody experiences, and it belongs to the consumer as well.